What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Just some scary movie.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Scream was a horror movie released in 1996. It was written by Kevin Williamson, based on real-life murders in Gainesville, Florida, and then it was directed by Wes Craven, who had already made a name for himself for the horror genre. It basically revitalized the slasher genre for a whole new horror audience. Currently, it has a 7.2 star rating on IMDb and a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was only number 4 when it was released at the box office on its opening weekend. Scream stars Neve Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Jamie Kennedy, and Roger L. Jackson, heard but never seen as Ghostface. If I didn't already announce when this movie was released, just hearing this cast list would make you go, oh wait, did you just say, did I hear Jamie Kennedy? Yeah, this is the 90s. That was the 90s, right? Yeah, 90s. Scream also includes a minor appearance from Liev Schreiber and a fake-out appearance from Drew Barrymore, who everyone thought was going to be the leading lady of this movie, but dies in the first 15 minutes of the film. Spoiler alert. Henry Winkler also plays the principal of their school, and Linda Blair plays an uncredited role as the obnoxious reporter, which is technically another way to describe Courtney Cox's character of Gale Weathers. The director, Wes Craven, even pops his head in as the janitor, dressed in reference to another classic horror film. It's one of the great ways that this movie honors predecessors by referencing so many other horror movie films to a new audience. Some people might watch this and think, maybe I should check out all this other material. The plot of this movie is sleepy, calm town where nothing bad ever happens, except for 1 year prior when the main character Sydney's mother was raped and murdered. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Sydney and her friends start getting these creepy phone calls from a mass killer who likes to harass and then stab people. Those are the basics. Sydney is of course still affected by her mother's death, and the reporter that covered the story, Gale Weathers, starts popping up again to cover these new killings. Gale seems to think that the man who was put away for the murder of Sydney's mother is innocent, which would imply that the killer is still out there and could be related to these current killings. The movie is full of misdirection, which keeps you guessing at who the killer could actually be. Is it the sheriff who seems to be wearing the same boots as the killer? Or is it the boyfriend Billy, who also uses a cell phone just like the killer and is kind of a rare item for somebody in 1996 to have? Is it Sydney's father, who conveniently leaves for a business trip at the beginning of the film and is missing the whole time, and fits the profile that most people who kill you are those with which you have a close relationship? Is it Deputy Dewey, who has inside knowledge of Sydney's friend group because he happens to be her best friend's brother and also knows what the cops will be looking for because he's a deputy, and also doesn't understand the inappropriateness of bringing a reporter on your rounds? Or is it Randy, Sydney's friend, who knows way too much about horror movies, and that's what the killer keeps asking about in all the phone calls?
Everybody's a suspect!
This movie basically started a phenomenon and brought horror back to the main screen. The horror genre was kind of dying out before Scream came to theaters. Scream used more prominently known stars to cast the movie rather than the previous pattern of unknown actors. This movie launched a franchise where the killer's not always the same person, even though they dress in the same costume. This film kind of broke the fourth wall by acknowledging the fact that horror movies exist and telling you the rules of the horror movies for you to watch out for while you watch this film. Caller ID surged in popularity because of this film. And it inspired an entire parody series of scary movies. This movie was actually entitled Scary Movie, so much that when they had the cast party, all of the gifts that were given to the actors had Scary Movie written on them instead of Scream. The Ghostface Killer's mask was partially inspired by the painting by Edvard Munch entitled Scream, which then became the inspiration for the title to this movie. The Ghostface Killer's robes were originally supposed to be white, so he would look more like a ghost, but they decided to go against that because they didn't want the killer to look too much like the KKK. Good call, Wes. What did I like about this movie? I enjoyed the rules of a horror movie being laid out for the audience. It added a bit of comedy to offset the violence, and it gave us something to look for during the movie for the whodunit. I also enjoyed any scene with Jamie Kennedy or Matthew Lillard. They were entertaining, especially the scene where Jamie Kennedy is sitting on the couch yelling at the Halloween movie for Jamie Lee Curtis to turn around. Jamie, the killer's behind you. Classic comedy. Again, just a subtle nudge nudge to the audience. I also like female protagonists who can stand up for themselves. Sydney seems very meek throughout the whole movie, but in the end she proves that she can be a total bad. Neve Campbell goes on to be one of the ultimate final girl horror queens. What didn't I like about this movie? I'm not really a fan of horror movies in general, and I usually have to force myself to watch them, especially when the villain is a real person and the situation could happen in real life. Give me a good old werewolf, vampire, alien, angel, demon, swamp creature movie any day. You know, things that might not be real. And I don't like when they leave the motivation open-ended. Only half of the motivation in the movie is really revealed, leaving you to have to kind of fill in the blanks. There's also a lot of scenes where you see the killer lurking in the background in costume, and then it doesn't seem physically possible for them to have gotten to their next unmasked position fast enough. Once you know who did the murdering, it just seems implausible. And now for the drinking game. Drink anytime anyone answers a phone.
Hello?
Drink anytime Sydney's mother is referenced.
Maybe your mom was just a very unhappy woman.
Drink anytime another horror movie is referenced.
Oh, you mean after you branded him the Candyman?
Drink anytime reporter Gail Weathers shows up.
Please call me Gail.
Drink anytime someone dies.
Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
I put that in quotes because sometimes they show someone who you think dies in the movie but then shows up in the sequel. If you know the story, you can choose not to drink because you know that person survived, or if you think they died, drink. I've heard a rumor that they're going to do a 5th installment of this movie, and they're going to reprise Sidney Prescott's role with Neve Campbell yet again. It's an interesting perspective on the horror genre where the hero was the same person every time and not the villain. I guess the only thing to leave you with in the meantime is make sure you know Randy's rules. Never have sex. Never drink or do drugs. Don't mind me. I don't know what you're talking about. And never say, I'll be back, because you're never coming back. This was the Scream drinking game. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can comment below, and you can even recommend future drinking games that you would like me to do. Until next time, I'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.